Hey you guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome to another episode of this Piscean Reports. How's everybody doing? Hopefully, as always, you guys are having a great day. For those of you new to my channel, welcome aboard. For those of you who are returning, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Alright, so I wanted to do a quick video. Here's the deal. I wanted to do this video a couple of days ago because the message came to me, I believe it was Monday night. And hold on, let me pause. Hang on a sec. Alright, so the video came to me earlier in the week and I was going to do it, but there was a missing component that I didn't get. And I said, well, I'll just wait until I get what I was going to get and then I was going to go ahead and do it. But because it just would have been so perfect for today's message, you know. I'm going to make a message for you guys, a video, and I'm going to entitle it, What Does It Mean to Be Chosen? And so I want to tell you, this was the inspiration for that. I got Joel Osteen's book. He had this book and he put it out. And here's the deal. So there was a shirt that also comes with the book and it says chosen. So I was going to do the video, do the message with the shirt on. The shirt didn't come, so I said I was going to wait. But I feel like this. They kept me up all night long. The night I got the message, they absolutely would not let me sleep. And back in the day, I used to get up and go over there and write down everything that they're telling me to do. But, you know, because I'm being watched now, it was just like, you know, the whole thing just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. So, but they kept me up all night. But anyway, and I said, okay, just go ahead and do it. So this is what the message is going to be for today. What it means to be chosen. I think I got something on my face. I feel it on my eyelash. But anyway, so I want to start with this. What are the characteristics of the chosen? And you can literally hear them. They didn't expect me to do a video today, so they're trying to get set up. But anyway, so some of the characteristics of the chosen is someone who is brave. I wish you guys could hear that. I swear to God. Brave, someone who is bold, someone who they have an inner strength and a confidence. The chosen have a character. Let's see. They had confidence and character. Yes, yes, yes. And also the chosen live their life with purpose and integrity. And they are, I also wrote that down too. I didn't want to make sure I didn't forget any of these things. The chosen are guided by their inner compass. Okay, I want to say this too. First and foremost, I really should have said this at the very beginning. I want to say this. Literally, everybody who came to the planet at this time, anytime you incarnate into this lifetime, you are chosen. You know, you're chosen to experience something. You're chosen to grow, to learn, you're here to do something, to make a difference, to better the world in some way. And you know, you always hear people say many are chosen, but very few answer the call. Okay, so this is why I was like, you know what, I'm going to write this down. Okay, they have a strong sense of right and wrong. Okay, they're not afraid to hold on, I'm so sorry, you guys. They had a strong sense of right one. I want to definitely make that. They are people who, the chosen seed are those who rise to the occasion, whatever the occasion stands for or calls for. And I gave you guys that example of back in the 40s, the 1940s, when Hitler was doing what he was doing, and the chosen seed in that particular era and time incarnated into this lifetime to rise up, because like there's nothing that the Most High isn't going to already be aware of. Okay, yes, they knew that this person was going to come and that the situations was going to happen, and so he sent the chosen seed in to rise up and vanquish that evil. I gave the example of the 60s, you know, when people were fighting for equal rights, you know, that whole thing. I won't go into it because, you know, a lot of people are about it. But anyway, but you get the idea, you know. The chosen seed are not afraid to rise up when the situation calls for it. You know, so being strong, being bold, being brave, someone who's not afraid, who lives, their lives are ruled by their inner compass, not the world. you know. They're not afraid to take chances. And I brought some things to kind of like tell you guys, give that example. When I say that they're brave and they're bold and they're not afraid, it's like if God puts something in you, they are not afraid to answer that call, to answer that, oh my gosh, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm thinking. And it's like, ta-da. It's like, the person who came to the bank and said, what are you trying to do? Well, I want to start, I have an idea for coffee. And you hear the the bankers or whatever saying, well, the market is already saturated with coffee. We don't need another coffee. And to be bold and be brave, say, no, this is different. This is mushroom coffee. Mushroom coffee, how's that going to work? The market is already saturated between Keurig and Starbucks and, the coffee companies that are in the stores already. Like I don't think there's a market for that, but that person believed and it kept going. And I now wake up every day drinking this coffee every day. Love it, love it, love it, love it. How can we help you, ma'am? I want to start my own skincare line. I want to start a beauty line of my own. Well, ma'am, the market is so saturated with beauty products. Imagine going to your mom. What are you doing? Well, mom, I want to start my own not cosmetic, but like my own beauty line, to take care of our skin. Well, honey, the market is already saturated. Look at this. The market is already saturated, sweetheart. Like, why would you need to do that? Why don't you try to do something else, And these people mean well when they're saying these things, but, these people who were chosen, they knew what God had put in them. They followed their inner compass. They dared to dream bold dreams. They dared to take on the challenge that was before them. Mom, I'm thinking about starting a ministry. Well, John, honey, you don't know anything about ministering, and think about it this way, honey. You haven't been to seminary school. You don't know anything about that. Well, what is possessing you to do this? I just feel the call. I hear the call. You see what I'm saying? And fast forward, because he did what he did and transitioned over to his son. And his son dared to dream bold dreams, dared to dream, dared to believe that he who did not go to seminary school, he who knows nothing about these things, dared to go on. The chosen are not afraid to live their goals, to live their dreams, to answer the call, whatever it is that was put in them. They're that. That is what it means to be chosen. Let's see. Yes, chosen seeds are generational curse breakers. I come from a family of abuse. I come from alcoholism. I come from a family of drug addicts. I come from, but I'm breaking a curse. Not me. This is where it ends. No more. Not for me and my chosen. Not for me and my seed. We're not going to continue that cycle of alcoholism, the cycle of abuse, the cycle of neglect. You know what I mean? You came from a family who just, it was just commonplace not to do the right thing, to try to be sneaky, to try to get over, to try to do wrong. They would choose wrong over right. I'm the curse breaker. I don't want to do that. I don't want my chosen seeds to do that. I want to break the curse, that generational curse of racism or, hatred of another. No more. Curse breakers. The chosen seed are like no other, and you have to be bold and strong if you are a chosen seed, because you're going to be facing some challenges. You're going to face people who are telling you, what do you think you're doing? Who do you think you are? You can't do that. You can't say that. You can't be that. Who do you think you are? Why are you taking that chance? John, stay on the farm with us where it's safe. You can't just go out into the world and just start talking about God and expecting people to hear you. You know what I mean? You can't just start a cosmetic cosmetic line or a beauty line. There's so many. There's Sephora, whatever. I think it's Sephora. Anyway, there's Sephora and there's, Maybelline, and there's all these cosmetic, what is your, who do you think you are? Like, you can't be that, who wants to, honey, you recognize and realize how many coffee companies out there in the world. What are you thinking? Like, there's got to be another option. There's got to be something. The chosen seed are very bold and very brave, and they do what needs to be done. Okay, if they see wrongs, they're there to right them. Let me see. Oh, yes. When I put down generational curse breakers, I wrote down John and Joel Osteen, curse breakers. They broke the curse of poverty on their family line. You know what I mean? I tell you what. And I did want to say this, my first thought is those who are chosen are the ones who go through the absolute most. There's that saying that, those who are religious are afraid of going to hell, and those who are spiritual have already been there. And I think that and I started to say that, that the chosen are those who have gone through the absolute worst, just the worst. And I want to say this, and I'll speak about the other thing that was on my mind. That is so much truth, because how can you, encourage others who are going through something if you've never experienced it yourself, So, this is what's interesting. A lot, and I found that fascinating. It is the people who have gone through the most. It is the people who have been through the most that are so willing to give love to other people because they know what it's like to not have that. There are several people on YouTube, some readers who have, who have talked about that they have gone through the worst. They have gone through the most. They have been through every ugly conceivable thing. Some have gone to prison. Some have gone through that cycle of drug abuse, drug and alcohol abuse, neglect, the whole nine. And yet they still manage to come through all of that cycle of ugliness, of violence, of being, essayed, abused, and the whole nine. And yet these are the people who are willing to come out and show love and give love to other people. And I love that. I think that's fascinating. I find that to be very fascinating. So the chosen seed are very loving, they give, I will also say this. I wrote down, when I said chosen seed, I put down John Osteen and I put Moses. Because these are people, well, maybe not John, but let's use Moses as an example of someone. Let me say this, just because for those of you who are worried that maybe you're not chosen because you have not experienced the worst of the worst, the chosen are that as well, because Moses was born into luxury. He was born into wealth. He never suffered. He never struggled. He always, any challenge that he did, he met that challenge and he mastered the challenge, and he was so highly thought of, so highly praised. The chosen have that inner compass of doing what's right, and that moment when he conquers Ethiopia and he brings them to Pharaoh, and he says, I'm bringing the son says, bow before Pharaoh, and he goes, no, I brought the Ethiopian king and his sister in friendship. Do you see what I mean? He always did the right thing, always had a choice of women. He could have had any of the younger ones, and he chose the oldest, and I think her name is Sephora. What's interesting, I think that's Sephora. She's the oldest. Yeah, I think her name is Sephora, which is interesting. But yeah, so you know what I mean? Moses was someone who was not born into poverty and technically, but he was raised up in wealth and comfort and luxury, even though there was that period when he decided to go out to see what it meant to be his natural or his native race. Do you see what I mean? So yeah, so for anyone who's saying, well, man, I must not be chosen then because I haven't come from that. The Most High chooses all of us. Now, we all know that the Most High specializes in choosing the least likely of us, and there's so many out there. So, let me say this. If you are going through it, if you are experiencing, I was saying last night that, I feel like at some point the Most High is going to turn my situation around, because you've gone through the worst of the worst, and you've experienced the worst of the worst, and I had to say to myself as I went to sleep, you're in good company. Remember that you're in good company. So if any of you are going through it, remember you're in good company. John Osteen, Moses, MLK, and oh my gosh, just so many. There are the regulars out there, just regular people who are rising to the occasion, who are born into, alcoholism or abuse or the worst of the worst, and they come out. It's like the Most High says, I am what's the word I want to use? I'm hearing priming, but it's not that. I'm preparing you. I'm shaping you. I'm molding you. I'm making you something. You know what I mean? And sometimes I also thought about that. I was reading, Joel's book, and they were talking about Potiphar and Joseph. Joseph, who had gone through the worst and been thrown into prison and sold off and betrayed by his family and sold off, and he spent years and years and years in as a slave, to Potiphar. And this is what I'm saying, you can go through it. If you're going through it, just try not recognize and realize you are in excellent company. You're in excellent company. The Bible is full of examples of people, ascended Master Jesus, born into a manger. You couldn't get any poorer than that. They didn't even have a house. I had to come into the world in a barn, basically. You know what I mean? And so, just know that the chosen seed are in excellent company. And if you are someone who is born into wealth or into luxury, that's okay. That's not a strike against you either. The Most High uses all of us, but He does definitely specialize in preparing the least likely of us for greatness, so or for something fabulous, someone who's dared to dream bold dreams and things like that. So, but anyway, and then I put that down. Sometimes they're perfect, sometimes not. Those are the examples. The least likely of us. And then I just say that. So yeah, I got it all in. That's good. I was hoping that I could get it in and get this taken care of before I go to work. But yes, so to be chosen is, we are all chosen, but very few answer the call. So the message here is understand that. Say to yourself, can I possibly be chosen? What am I chosen for? Like I keep telling you guys, they're never just gonna flat out tell you. You're just gonna experience, through my whole awakening, I was never said you're gonna do this and you're gonna do that. I was just guided to quit your job, start doing tarot, and start speaking your truth. I have finally put you in a place. You have your own place in your own space. It's now time to speak your truth. Tell all those who, because I feel like this, the Most High chose me because I see Him saying, I need you to speak your truth. Because there are a lot of people just like you, they're not satisfied with the church. They're not getting what they need from the church, and because they're not getting what they need from the church, they're floundering, they're losing their way in the same way you did. And I spent a lot of years trying to find a church, and I just never found it. Nothing. And I was ready to give up and the whole nine. And he guided me to spirituality, and my whole world changed because I was able to see that God is. He showed up in my life. He showed out. He continues to show up and show out. I have been dealt some of the craziest stuff, but yet still the Most High continues to just show out in a way, and I love it. I'm not being, I don't want to say, I don't want people think I'm being arrogant or I'm showing off, or this isn't that. This is, I'm telling you this, but I'm telling you it humbly, but at the same time, I'm like, because I'm amazed by it. And my job is to tell you guys, he absolutely is. And just like he showed out in my life, he will show out in yours. Okay. But you have to be willing, you have to be open, start talking to the Father. Show me in the same way you showed her. I want to know that I'm struggling. I'm not finding happiness in the church, but I don't want to, and I'm slowly but surely giving into the world. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that. You know what I mean? I don't, no one walks away from the church and deliberately wants to just follow the devil. It isn't that. It's just that I don't see proof. I don't see you in the churches that I'm attending or synagogues or whatever. I'm not finding you. I don't see you. I don't feel you there. Okay, that's perfect. Then come try spirituality. Allow me to show up and show out in your world in such a way. Allow me to show you that I'm here, but they cannot do that unless you talk to them. They won't do it unless you speak, unless you call. Okay, I told you guys about free will. We're gifted with that. When we come into the world, you are gifted with free will. You are free to do as you please, but understand, we're here. If you get to a certain point and you find yourself struggling, we're here. Ask us for help, and we can help you, get you back on track. You know what I mean? I'm not seeing you. I'm not feeling, I feel lost. I feel alone. Call out. Let them know I'm struggling. I don't see you. I don't feel you. Help me. And then give them the opportunity to show up and show out in your world the same way they did me. And like I said, when it comes to spirituality, how they're going to show up in your world is going to be different for everybody. I did initially begin saying, do this, and this, okay? Because that is what happened to me. That was what worked for me. And then I read that, everybody's path is so uniquely theirs, and nobody's thing is going to be exactly the same. But, that's when you have to start talking to them and saying, okay, I need your help, and then allow them to set up miracles and make things very clear to you that they are, so that you can then turn around and say, oh my God, okay, I'm back on track. I have your inner compass is restored. It's shiny and new, and you're living life purposefully now. You're not just going out and floundering and doing whatever. Okay, now I have a purpose. I have a direction. You put something in me. Let me now pursue that. Let me now do that. Let me now be that. And you do it so excitedly, So, but yes, this is what it means to be chosen seeds. Okay, be bold, be brave, be innovative. Don't be afraid to show the world who you are. Let the universe say, this is what you came here for. Did you know you had these gifts? Let us show you. And then you go, well, I don't know if everybody's ready for that. If they put it in you, trust and believe. Somebody out there is ready to hear it. Okay, you've got to, I don't want to say make them hear it, but at the same time, it's like, just I don't want to get too far into that, but just trust, okay? Trust that he is, they are, and they are here for you, okay? The chosen seed are like none other. Bold, brave, innovative, inner compass, strength, character, they lead life with integrity and purpose, all right? It's amazing. And those of you who have gone through it, like I said, don't feel bad. Don't feel like you have nothing to offer the world. You're nothing. You're worthless. You're none of those things. If anything happened, it was a lesson. So we learn the lesson, and then you go, okay, I've learned that. I know that now. Where do we go from here? And let the universe, use you in the way they needed to, okay? And just be open, okay? Because my experiences were so amazing and so phenomenal. Oh my God, so amazing. I loved it. I still do love it, because it's a continuing thing. It's not like they just said, okay, we just showed you these things and that's just to let you know we're here. And no, once you make that conscious decision and you start connecting with the other side, it stays that, because why would you go back to, what I mean? Now you're on track. Now you're focused. Now everything is lit up in you and you feel new and wonderful and amazing and okay, and let's go and let's do this. You'll never go back. You'll never go back. Ain't no way. Why would you, right? Why would you? So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and leave this here. It's almost time. Yes, definitely time for me to get out of here. I probably won't upload this later on in the evening, but you guys are all seeing it live anyway. Most of you are anyway, so it won't be the end of the world. Fortunately, I'm hoping that I can upload this for the wonderful, wonderful people who are willing to see it brand new, on air, live, on YouTube, and not just up here and out there and the whole nine. Okay, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and go. I love you guys. I will see you next time on the next video. You guys take care. Talk to y'all later. Bye bye. I wish I had that Chosen shirt. Can you imagine having a Chosen shirt on and then delivering a message about the Chosen? But whatever. I love you guys. I will see you next time on the next video. Y'all take care. Bye bye.